because on the video streams, we're just here through the breaks. We don't go to commercial. So I'm going to nerd out over Jacob Wilson's contact rate when we get back. But Ashton Genty, I'm a big fan of that pick for the Raiders. For the 49ers, with the number 11 overall pick, they took defensive end Mykel Williams out of Georgia. So I have many thoughts.
Yeah, First of all, this is a player you were not high on going into the draft.
No, but not like low on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like he stinks. It wasn't that. But it was more, I just don't see this. There are people who have this idea that he is like, oh man, this is just an all-pro in waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong a lot. But I don't hate the pick for the 49ers. I do think it's weird that John Lynch admitted that they tried to trade up for a player who fell to them at 11 anyway.
Yeah, it very much felt like Vlade Divac saying we had a better deal 2 days ago.
Yeah, again, not like the end of the world, not saying John Lynch should be fired for this or anything, but what?
Yeah.
I guess you're gassing up the pick and going, we were so excited that we were going to trade up, but you were just going to give up draft capital to move up for a player you didn't need to trade up for?
Everyone's like, that's draft capital, man.
Why would you do that?
You don't do that.
It's ridiculous. My guess is, so the reporting around it is that the 49ers tried to trade up. I have not seen with who yet. My guess is Carolina at 8 because they were the ones that the reporting was they were trying to trade back.
Okay.
My guess is John Lynch called and said, hey, we'll give you 11 and a 5th round pick for 8. And they said no. That'd be my guess. They just tried to kind of swindle whatever team it was. And
okay.
Team said no.
Some minor draft capital.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
I think Mykel Williams has a very high floor as a player. A really good run defender, super violent, checks all the boxes like size-wise, 6'5", 267. He's got the long arms and just a really, really effective run defender. And I think he'll be able to do that right away.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, and when you're taking a player 11th overall, like, can you get to that upside as a pass rusher? You need to sack the quarterback. That's the whole thing with being a defensive end, especially in the modern NFL. It's nice that you can set the edge and you can play the run. But like, bro, if you're on an island with their offensive tackle and you're just getting stonewalled every time you're trying to get to the quarterback, that's a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like he had no production. I think he had 14 sacks across 3 seasons. His best year from a pressures perspective was as a freshman at Georgia. He had 33 pressures that year. I get it. Like, I understand it. And I understand why people who are smarter than me are high on him. But on the other hand, a lot of it is projection and going, okay, well, he has the tools to develop into a great pass rusher. Okay, I don't disagree. Here's my problem. What pass rusher have the 49ers developed? What pass rusher have they brought in? Because that was, Nick Bosa was pro ready day one. That he was easy pick. He was supposed to go first overall until the Cardinals decided they didn't want Josh Rosen anymore. So that was an easy pick. That was a layup, and he was going to be awesome, I think, regardless of the team he went to. You have Drake Jackson, a 2nd round pick, who he's dealt with injury stuff, but was a mess before that. Mm-hmm. He had 3 sacks in that Pittsburgh game to start it in week 1 of his 2nd season. Cleanup sack. He had a motor that allowed him to get to the quarterback after other people applied the pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say fraudulent numbers, but it's not like he's like, oh man, Drake Jackson, huge game. He had 3 sacks. They brought in a guy like Deion Jordan, former number 3 overall pick, all the tools, all this stuff. Hey, get him in this building. He's not an effective player. They've had guys like Robert Beal.
How many guys did they draft in the first round or high picks that never worked out? Lots. Like first, second,
Solomon
third rounds.
Solomon Thomas, number 3 overall pick in 2017.
Yeah, Street.
Contavia Street. Yep. They have had just this list of players, and I get like Arden Key, for example. I think Arden Key is the one everybody circles because he kind of flamed out with the Raiders, came to the 49ers, had a really, really nice year, and signed a contract, I think, with Tennessee. and carved out an NFL career after coming to the Niners. But that's not developing a pass rusher. That's utilizing a player who was with another team for a few seasons, and now you're going to bring him in and you're going to try and put him into positions to succeed. That's what they did. They moved him around the offensive line or the defensive line, rush him from different spots. I don't have any evidence that tells me that Chris Kasurik and Robert Saleh and the 49ers coaching staff is going to be able to turn him into this awesome pass rusher that everybody thinks he can be. There's no history of it.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think it's fair. You can go back a little bit, like to, was it Buckner and Eric Armstead, guys that, like but again, we're talking top tier picks.
And we're talking before Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch got there.
Yeah. That's tough.
When
like Kerry Hyder shows up and is your like second best sack guy.
Sure.
You probably have a problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, you don't get credit for developing those guys.
No.
I don't.
Well, yeah, but if we're gonna give, if somehow he does develop it, this year that this specific player, Mykel Williams, like develops and becomes a star, then we can't just say, well, he was a number 11 pick, so
no.
Like, but they got to prove that they can do it.
Yeah, that's it. They have not. And you know what? I will even concede. You know what? I will concede. DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead are great success stories. They're also defensive tackles. We have not seen that. Robert Beal is the player I keep coming back to. Another Georgia defensive end. I remember when he got drafted, all we heard was, man, he can really get off the ball, and he has all these measurables. He checks all the physical boxes. And he's just not a good NFL player. Like, that's where you would hope, okay, hey, you can develop this guy into but man, you had to bring in Samson Ebukam, you had to trade for Malik Collins, you had to sign Javon Hargrave in free agency because the Javon Kinlaw pick didn't work out. Like, they've had to piece together these defensive lines because they've not been able to develop their draft picks.
Yeah.
So maybe it works. I hope it does. But if I'm going to do backflips because they drafted a pass rusher with potential, it's like, yeah, well, we've seen this before.
Yep. I mean, Robert Beal has 1 sack total in his career.
1. And I think it might have been in his NFL debut.
That's possible. It was in his rookie season.
So I don't, like I said, I don't think it's a bad pick. I'm not like thumbs down. It's just, if he was a really high quality pass rusher, or if the 49ers had this long history of taking guys like Drake Jackson, who didn't really have a position in college, put him in this spot, and man, you know what? Hey, now he's awesome.
Super athlete.
Robert Beal is a quality rotational edge player. You can count on him for a couple, 3-4 sacks a year. He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to be a problem. Cool. I'd feel so much better about it. The good news is, I think his floor is really high. I don't think this is going to be a disaster pick where we're like, oh my God, they screwed this up big time. But I think he's going to be able to play on 3 downs. If he's really ineffective as a pass rusher, that's a problem. But if he can help your run defense and you grab another edge rusher in the 2nd round or 3rd round who can be that rotational, just kind of go get the quarterback guy, and Mykel Williams is off the field on passing downs right away, I don't hate that. They needed depth. And they needed, I think he's going to start day 1. The upside, you feel good about that. And the other thing, if we're doing positives, there's not a player that they passed on where I'm like, oh my God, like, what are they doing?
Yeah, that's very true. It's not like who took the tight end right before them?
The Bears, Colson Loveland.
Okay, but it wasn't the tight end that everyone thought would go number 1.
Tyler Warren.
And so that's where you're like, oh boy. Like even like Tyler Warren, like the 49ers don't really need a tight end. They still have Kittle, and they went out and spent, $21 million or whatever it was on a backup tight end. Like, so I'm okay with them passing on him early.
Sure.
But for me, like, if you're going to go get a defensive lineman, he better be one of the better ones in the draft. And I think this is one of the better ones in the draft.
So like last year, for example, the Niners took Ricky Pearsall, number 31 overall. And we don't know if Pearsall might be a good player. He might, he's a year in and he barely got that first year. But a player like Ladd McConkey, who had an awesome year for the Chargers, was connected a lot to the 49ers at 31 overall in last year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
You passed up Lad McConkey for Ricky Pearsall. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then McConkey goes on to have an awesome first year. Cooper DeJean, another player tied to the 49ers heavily. Mike Silver even said they picked him. He goes to the Eagles and is a major player for them in their Super Bowl win. So there were players available last year in the first round where you're like, man, hey, the Pearsall thing feels like a reach. The Mykel Williams pick doesn't feel like a reach. It just okay. It's just kind of the type of player available. And I think that not the type of player available, the quality of player available. I think this tells us a little bit what their strategy is going to be for the rest of the draft.
Okay.
Where we talked a lot about Walter Nolan, right? From Ole Miss, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Who I think went 3 picks later.
Something like that.
I get really busy during day one of the draft and I lose track a little bit. Walter Nolan went 5 picks later to the Arizona Cardinals. He is one of those really high ceiling, really low floor players for me, where there's a chance he's just not playable.
Oh,
but there's also a chance that he's one of the 3 best defensive tackles in the league. And I think what the Niners did is they eschewed that ceiling and went, you know what? Mykel Williams may never be an all-pro, but we feel really good that he's going to be here for 4 years at least, and that he's going to be on the field for 3 downs right away.
A rotational player.
At the very least,
starter,
a rotational
likely.
player.
Yeah, like right off the bat.
Yes. And they'll take the floor instead of the ceiling. And I kind of wonder if that's what we're going to see throughout this draft. Where, hey, maybe there's a more exciting player available, but they just took the rock solid, yep, this guy is going to start. He's going to be productive. Feel good about it. Maybe not a Pro Bowler, maybe not an all-pro, but a starter right away.
Yeah, it's weird because they put themselves in a situation where they have so many needs. They actually just need bodies.
That's it.
Which is totally bizarre to have a team that should be this high end that has, probably 10 or 12 roster spots just like you have to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And probably 5 positions, like starting positions that could still be open and debatable at this point.
Yeah.
It's really surprising because that's not who the Niners usually are. Usually you're tinkering.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that this is like, it feels a little bit like a home run swing, right? Because this is a player that does have like crazy upside if you like get him in the perfect situation. Either way, he's still going to be a really solid piece. But from here on out, you need to start stacking singles and doubles like all the way through the draft because that's who you are as a team.
I think that's a good analogy, but I'm going to take it one step further. It's like an Albert Pujols home run swing instead of a Mark McGwire home run swing.
Okay.
Mark McGwire, when he used to hit home runs, they would be like moonshots, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They would go so high and so far. Whereas Albert Pujols, if you ever watched Albert Pujols take batting practice, it was art, dude. It was just these line drives, these rising line drives that would get out of the... He'd hit it and you'd go, oh, wow, there's a double. And then it would carry over the fence.
Mm.
I think the 49ers are swinging for a double here with the Mykel Williams pick.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that, hey, you know what? They got the right backspin. They hit it to the right part of the yard, and that's going to carry out.
Yep.
That's what I think they're... Like I said, I liked your analogy, and that's the way I think they're thinking about this, though. This to me wasn't the like, hey, you know what? We're swinging for the fences here. Might strike out, might not. No, I think they're trying to hit a double, and if it goes over the fence, they'll be thrilled.
Yeah, they definitely are in a position where they just have to get so many picks. Not like that they are just over the moon great picks, but that they are solid NFL players, that they're contributors, they're guys who are going to be in the league for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where they are right now in their build. And you hope that they can find enough of them.
Honestly, this is what I hope. We were talking about draft grades before the show. Draft grades are one of my favorite things because they're useless, but I also will eat them up.
Yeah.
I want to know what everybody thinks. I want everybody's take. I'm going to give my take. First thing I did, second thing I did last night, wrote a grade. I gave it a B.
Okay.
And I think that's what the Niners, I think that's their ideal. Like, if you're grading out this draft, you can't really grade a draft class 3 years is the magic